Welcome to our new series, The 200 Movie Challenge. Our goal this year is to watch 200 movies that we haven't seen yet. If you want to listen to the full podcast where this clip is from, the link will be in the description. Now enjoy today's movie.
Let's talk about your first movie, the 198th movie, which I've been seeing some previews from this because when you sent this to me, I had no idea what the hell this film was. Then all of a sudden, I'm starting to see previews because I think it's going to be up for some awards. I was like, oh shit, I can't
Oh,
wait to hear
really?
from this because it looks like a decent cast too. So I give you the floor. Tell me about this.
Well, yeah. So Train Dreams, I had come across it. I had seen somebody review it on TikTok. So my algorithm on TikTok is pretty much cued into movies and movie reviews and things like that. Uh, so it came up, and um, what drew me to this movie was just the cinematography. I've always been a big fan of cinematography, especially out west or the frontier woods, shit like that. That's why I did get a vibe of this, not thematically, but like a game like Red Dead Redemption 2, which is a game I love. It has these great like wide open spaces, like kind of like what you see in Western movies, and big sky, beautiful sky. And from what I had seen from this movie, it was just the shots I had seen. I was like, I know that I'm gonna enjoy the cinematography because it's just right up my alley. It's just natural sunsets. Especially after seeing some of the stuff that we've seen this year. I'm not trying to shit on a movie like Frankenstein, but some movies that I've seen this year kind of tend to have these CG skies, or the lighting just looks kind of off. Everything's like in front of a green screen these days. Um, so it made it just that much more impressive and interesting to watch a movie like this. And so, I knew the cinematography I was going to be into, and I was from the very beginning. And the story, kind of goes on this journey that I didn't expect, and it was more of an experience. But just to give you a brief sort of idea, but this guy, he moves out. He's a logger basically. He's working on railroads as well, out west. Um, and the movie opens up. Well, not opens up, but he's working on a job, and he sees a migrant worker, an Asian worker, get taken away by some guys, and he's just looking on, and he sees these other dudes just throw this Asian guy off the bridge in the middle of like them working on the railroad, and that kind of situation marks him for the rest of the movie in his entire journey that he's happening. Meets a woman at church. They end up getting a log cabin, um, and they start a life together. They have a kid, and but he keeps going away to work. Like he has to go to these logging expeditions and everything. Um, he rides trains there, and you see a lot of like kind of open sky and great cinematography, and a lot of this movie feels, oh god, how do I say it? Very meditative, not in the way that like Tree of Life was earlier this year. Tree of Life was a very difficult movie for me to get into. But you just kind of see the world through this guy's eyes, and as he's going through life and everything, he goes through grief, and eventually goes through some loneliness as well. So it's not a movie that is stereotypical in any way. And I really was a big fan of the performance, especially the main guy, who's an Australian actor. I don't remember his name, but he's like been in a bunch of other things too. Um, and I just kind of really, again, just I loved the overall vibe. I loved the visuals, and I like the whole idea of him, going through change through his whole entire life and how that's shown on screen. The only thing, and I don't know how you feel about this, but the only thing that I kind of, it doesn't really turn me off, and I don't think it's a negative in this film, but it took me out of it. Sometimes narration does not work for me. Um, it narration like for example, Fight Club, I'm okay with the narration, and it makes sense based on how that movie unfolds, right? Without spoiling Fight Club for the two people that haven't seen it. So I don't mind that kind of narration. But sometimes there's some narration that I'm just like, really, I didn't. That kind of took me out of the whole vibe. I think if there was no sort of narrator in this film, it had kind of let the movie kind of breathe and speak on its own and let it be kind of slow and meditative, I think that I would have had, I don't know, a much more enjoyable experience for me personally. And I'm just wondering for you, how do you feel about narration when you see it in movies?
Narration's a hit or miss.
Right.
Because it's basically like you said, it's hard to pinpoint because you mentioned Fight Club, and I think it's just because, and again, I'm not seeing Train Dreams. I can't, it depends on the amount of narration and what's being narrated. So,
Yeah.
because in Fight Club, yes, they did this in quick things, and then just like kind of his thought process without over explaining. Because if you had
Mhm.
to explain
Oh my
what
God.
scene or something you feel, you know what I mean? Like almost too much of it in them.
It's
I'm like,
sufficient.
you're not doing it correctly. Whereas Fight Club, it was kind of just like, like, all right, like, and again, not to spoil it, but, just what's going on in his head and just quick points. And that is it. It does not, he's not talking about plot points, which I feel some narration does. So it is, it's a movie by movie basis. I mean, it can work, but you just don't overdo it. And so that's kind of where I'm at. But an FYI, his name is Joel Egerton. I was just kind of quickly looking that up for you. He was also in The King, which is something you watched earlier too. So just
It
put
was,
that.
and he was awesome in that. And he also was in Warrior with
Correct.
Tom Hardy,
Yep.
which I really enjoyed as well. Sarah's not a big fan of him, but I like him. I think he's underrated. You know, this movie, a beautiful movie. Probably one of the most beautiful movies that I've seen this year, if I can be honest. I've seen a lot of beautiful movies this year, and it's right there. At its core, the story is about a guy who doesn't know how to stop, so he just keeps going on regardless of his life, and you literally follow his long majority of his life. And I know that sometimes it's a spoiler to be like, does this person live or die? But like, you pretty much see this guy throughout his entire life, just kind of trying to just carry on. And I don't think that this is a movie for everyone. Uh, I definitely can understand what you're talking about with Oscar contention and Academy Awards. I can see some of that happening. I just think that people are not going to be a big fan of the pace. And if you are, I think that you're going to love it. I think that I love this slow pace more, like I mentioned earlier, than Tree of Life. If this is the kind of mood that you're in, and if you want to just kind of like watch a really beautiful movie just sort of unfold and take its time, I think this is a movie for you. But again, it's not one of those ones you're going to pop in on Friday night and watch and just be like, okay. And it doesn't, there are no clean answers in this movie, like from a plot standpoint. Like, and by clean, I mean, it doesn't like, I'm not saying it doesn't resolve plot points. I'm just saying that there's no like stereotypical way that things work out like you would expect them to work out in a movie, right?
Mhm.
I know it's being very vague, but that's kind of like it's an adult movie in that way because it basically is going to treat you like an adult. It's not going to handhold you, and it's an adult story about this man's life. And again, if you're looking for a slow pace with beautiful cinematography, I think this is going to be great. But it's definitely not one of those movies that you put on and then you have people running around in the background, or you're multitasking, or you're seeing it on your phone. Definitely not one of those movies, but certainly one of the better movies I've seen this year. That's for sure.
Which gets us to the question we get to after every movie. And by the way, so I should have introduced it this way. I just kind of realized it or forgot about it. This is your 100th movie. This
Oh, it's my
this is
100th
your
movie.
100th movie. This is
That's
what started
right.
the whole thing. This whole
Yeah.
process is because at the beginning of the year, end of last year, you're just like, my goal is to watch 100 movies this year. And I was
Yes.
like, fuck, we need to somehow do this without really
I was on the
thinking
treadmill.
about it
Yeah.
too much. But it was the start. But yes, Soto, you're about to mark number 100 into
Oh,
your
goodness.
list. So
Mm.
that it's almost like you feel like this should be an epic moment. But trust me, when I was there, it wasn't. I forget
I
which one
don't
was mine.
feel like any different.
No.
Like I think people say, you shouldn't think about your dreams. You should think about like the feeling that you'll get when you achieve your dreams, and then just try to feel that now, because it's very much like when you get there, you're like, oh, I'm still me. Like there wasn't like some crazy fireworks. In video games, I think it's a little bit different, right? Because you get that gratification. But this. I made it to 100. I'm more relieved than anything else, if that makes sense.
No, I understand. Like I said, this episode is definitely going to be really kind of bittersweet too, but really. But anyhow, so to where
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. I'm gonna say right now.
right now, because there isn't much time to change this after this. I'll talk to you
No,
about this afterwards too.
it can always change next year. Um, I'm gonna say that this movie is. Oh wow, this is tough. It does a lot of things right, but this movie is the 30th movie that I've seen. The 30th ranked movie. It's under Friendship.
Okay.
It's gonna be above
Inherent
Inherent
Vice.
Vice.
Okay. All
Yeah, it's
right.
a top 30 movie for me.
That's not bad. When you think about 100 films, that ain't bad at all, man.
My top 30%. Yeah, it's not like going up to the top like a rocket ship or anything like that. But it's a very solid film. But again, like I said, it requires a type of mood that not all people allow themselves to have access to at all times. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay.